place where my passion now is I want other advisors to not have to go through that long journey to get there because
Mhm.
we've got all these people retiring. We've got challenging times and they need good counseling. They can't afford to have you make your mistakes on them. So
Right.
this book is directly for clients, but it's also for advisors. I want them to freely learn from what we're talking about, steal it, and apply it in their practice to help their clients.
Leaders Talk, Season 2.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is your favorite time of the week. It's my favorite time of the week. It is time for Leaders Talk, and as usual, I am your intrepid host, Andrew Dupy, head of communications over here at Leaders Brands. And today, I have with me someone that I hope will call me a friend, who I've been working with for quite some time, Terry Wheeler. So let me introduce Terry to you and introduce a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. So Terry is a highly accomplished estate and wealth strategist planner, brimming with experience. He is an estate planning attorney, and he has taught at the University of California, Davis. And throughout his career in the financial industry, which began in 1987, his career in the financial industry began in 1987, underpinned by a strong educational foundation. So Terry also holds a bachelor's degree in financial planning from San Diego State University and a Juris Doctor from the University of Pacific McGeorge School of Law. He furthered his studies with a postdoctorate program and a master's program at the Peterson Institute. And most importantly to us, he is the author of Laugh When the Market Crashes, a book that we've been working on together for the last several months and is in its very final stages of completion. Terry, so welcome. The introduction was a little bit brief, but I kind of want our audience to know a little bit more about you and what you do. So take a second and tell us about you.
Hey, thanks, Andrew, and thank you for having me on your show. I basically began back when I was a teenager, working my way through college in the financial industry. Began all the way back when I was working on mortgage. I was a mortgage specialist for a while for a bank. I kind of survived through that savings and loan crisis, which was way back 30, 40 plus years ago. Uh,
I remember that. I'm sure
yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
our audience does too.
Yeah, and we happened to be working for a savings and loan through San Diego State University. That's how I was working my way through college at the time. And then went into banking and ultimately got my opportunity from a client who was teaching me real estate. And I was
Mm,
working for Wells Fargo Bank as a personal and business banking officer. And I was going in every morning at about 7 a.m. to study real estate with this guy who had offered to tutor me if I showed up. And I'd be waiting every morning. After about a month and a half of uh, kind of studying with this guy, he looks at me and he goes, "What the heck are you doing being a banker?" And
mm.
I was 21 at the time, and I told him, I said, "I'm not going to be a banker. I'm going to be a stockbroker." And it turns out he was the best man at the downtown office, the guy by the name of Lloyd Kelly. So he was the best man at Lloyd Kelly's wedding. And he said to me, "When you're ready, I'll arrange an interview for you because I know Lloyd Kelly. Just let me know and I'll set it up." And being a cocky 21-year-old, I kind of was quiet for a moment for a dramatic pause. And then I said, "I'm ready." And before I knew it, couple weeks later, I'm interviewing. Before I knew it, I'm in New York for training with Dean Witter, and that started everything. So, preparation meets opportunity was in action there.
Well, I mean that is definitely what Machiavelli calls virtue. When you have the moment where you have something that shows up and you take advantage of it.
Yeah,
Um,
and to be
yeah,
honest, like
that's a heck of a story. Yeah,
I look so young. I know I got that job because of that connection, and it gave me
yeah.
great training. I actually ended up back in the banking system as a financial advisor because then I had the bank behind me because I looked like I was 15 and ended
Yeah.
up doing workshops with attorneys who decided to add legal and went to law school to do tax and estate planning. But our core focus has always been the portfolio management, and then the
Hmm.
tax and estate planning fits perfectly in there. So we do integrated planning. It works wonderful for clients. So that's a bit of the background, and then 30
Yeah.
years went by in between.
And I think a lot of our audience might be interested in the Juris Doctor. So, I mean, you also have gone into law. So, how did that kind of integrate with that?
Yeah, so I was literally doing marketing with an attorney that was doing estate planning. And I've always been a studier, so I was studying up all the things you could do for estate planning, and I quickly knew more than he did. And I was doing all the work to set up these workshops, and he was getting all the clients because I look like a kid. So on a whim, I decided to take the LSAT and scored in the top, I think it was 4 or 5% in the country. And instead of waiting a year and trying to get into the best school I could, I knew I wanted to be in my own practice. So I just started school about 45 days later with a UOP had rolling admissions. And boy, was that a wake up call.
Yeah.
So I've never had to study. Like school's always been so easy for me. And the first semester of law school, I was in the bottom 20% and got the letter saying you're in danger of being kicked out of school. And what I discovered is I have a not a reading problem. I can't when I'm reading something, if I don't understand it, I read it over and over and over. I want to know the ins and outs of it. And they were giving us such a huge volume of work. It was a struggle to keep up with everything.
Mhm.
So after that semester, our grades are a year long. I ended up finishing the year in the top 10% and got awards and accolades and everything else. But I literally, my whole entertainment in my life was going to Starbucks and studying. And it was actually a local coffee shop that wasn't a branded Starbucks that was near me, but I did both. But I spent all my time, I just had to study harder than I ever had in my life. And it was really a great experience because it taught me to dig deep. And I'm not really, I mean, yes, I'm an attorney, but really I consider ourselves wealth planners first. And then
Yeah.
the legal just helps us bring in the estate planning, asset protection, and then the oh so important tax planning. So we're very
Right.
proactive in tax planning. And those are the great skills that we got. And we apply that in wealth planning, but I don't do traditional law where I never see a courtroom or litigate or anything like that.
Right. Well, but yeah, I think it's very understandable because those two disciplines are very intertwined. I mean, and I
Yeah.
think that when you're talking about wealth planning, we're talking about taxes, especially having an understanding of the legal system and how to navigate it. That gives you kind of a leg up on a
It's,
lot of other
yeah,
on a lot of other competitors in your
it's a
market.
massive advantage because as advisors, you are a drag on a portfolio.
Yeah.
You're an expense. You got to find a way to turn yourself into a profit center. And we have
Mm.
a saying that we try to embrace around here that we refer to as 10x. And what I mean by that is if we've got an advisor paying us X amount of dollars, we want to try to bring 10x of value. So we don't want to just be
Mm.
a profit center. We want to be insanely profitable for them. Tax planning, and then what this book is about, Laugh When the Market Crashes,
Right.
protecting the downside and being able to buy the dips. That's how we deliver on that promise. And the
Yeah.
two combined are the two most powerful elements, although we do the asset protection, estate planning, and that can be powerful too. Proactive income tax planning, which unfortunately most people are never even exposed to. And then
Mhm.
most people just diversify. That's their form of downside protection, which all that means is when the market crashes,
You're still
got
gonna,
a lot of
yeah.
company.
And that's what fascinated me about the book, and I've read it several times, and I've teased it a little bit to some of my circle that a lot of them are CEOs, and a lot of them are people that have been in business, and they want to read it. So
Great.
you definitely got some interest out there. But yeah, when I read it, I'm not particularly a very extensively knowledgeable person about taxes and how the market works, but I understood it. So, how did you kind of approach the writing process of that to make this a book that works not just for people who are experts, but also for the layman?
Well, by the time we started working together, I had done everything that you tell me not to do. I mean, I rewrote that book so many times
Yeah,
because to me, this isn't just a book. This is kind of a culmination of my life's work.
right.
And what I mean by that is we have a very powerful system right now. And I love the way we invest, what we call defined outcome investing. But it's not as if I've been doing that for 35 years. I've made all kinds of mistakes along the way for both
Mhm.
myself and clients that were managing their money. And from those mistakes, we've always been good at learning from them and improving, fortunately. So, where we are now, 35 plus years later of managing money for clients, we've landed in a place where my passion now is I want other advisors to not have to go through that long journey to get there because we've
Mhm.
got all these people retiring. We've got challenging times and they need good counseling. They can't afford to have you make your mistakes on them. So
Right.
this book is directly for clients, but it's also for advisors. I want them to freely learn from what we're talking about, steal it, and apply it in their practice to help their clients. Because mistakes are costly, and we don't want them to make the same ones we made. We want them to make new ones, perhaps, but we want them to always be doing their very best for the clients. And we always have done that, but that doesn't mean you don't make mistakes along the way. This system corrects and allows you to profit from what a lot of people are missing when they're listening to the generic Wall Street advice.
Right, and you touched on that generic Wall Street advice earlier. Is that word diversification, and I continually hear that from people who are advisors that say, "Oh, well, we just need to make sure that we have our irons in a lot of fires, and
Yeah.
we want when something goes down, like my dad he ended up losing $6 million because he put all of his money into Texaco in
Oh my
1985,
gosh.
and never made a cent of it back, and what he always said was, "Oh, if I had only put a little bit of a lot of other things and done." A lot of those. That's what I continually hear. But yeah, you really are talking about something that's this well beyond just that concept of be in many places. Because if you're in many places and we're in a place like 2008 or 1987, many places fall at the same time.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I'm not saying diversification isn't good.
Right.
You build wealth and you lose a lot of wealth through concentrated positions. So it sounds like, unfortunately, your family's experienced that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
if you had concentrated positions in AI stocks, that is like owning a business. Like when you got
Mhm.
90% of your wealth there, you're going to make a massive amount of money if things go good. But remember the dot-com crash, stocks in the tech sector fell over 78, 79%. So you can
Mhm.
lose wealth very quickly that way also. But wealth is built in America through real estate and concentrated positions or direct business ownership primarily. Diversification, once you're getting toward retirement. So the book is focused toward those that are in the sprint to retirement or retired. And it works for everybody, but that's kind of the focus of the book and the way we slant this way of investing. Diversification is used because you don't want that concentrated position. You're in the position to protect your wealth so that you're on a nice stress-free path and enjoying retirement.
Mhm.
But diversification is just the start because, as you mentioned, if the market crashes like in 2008 or 2001, diversification protects you from losing 80% of your wealth, like if you were just in dot-com stocks, but you still lost 50% of your wealth with diversification. So you had a lot of company because everybody around you lost 50% of their wealth too that were in stocks. But what if you could have gotten out up here and prevented some of that loss and been able to buy the dip? So by the time everybody else is getting back to break even, you're profiting massively. That's what the process of defined outcome investing combined with a defined duration strategy where we have monies coming due constantly that are protected on the downside so we get to buy the dip. So it can be complex in theory, but once you really start doing it, it's not that hard and it's extremely powerful.
Yeah. And I think that's what I like about the book is that it breaks down how to do that. And it doesn't just break down how to do that in just saying, well, do it. It gives you moments to step back. It gives checkups. Do you understand this? Let's do a little bit of a workshop. Let's workshop the idea of how this works. And I think that's what connected to somebody like me the most is that it broke down how. It didn't just say why you should do it, it tells you how to do it.
Yeah. I'm really glad you say that because that was our goal is to really teach and instruct people on a better way to invest because it will allow them to have such a better journey in retirement. And then, as you know, it does touch on tax planning, touches on all the different elements of financial planning that you need to address and how it relates to defined outcome investing and adding defense to your portfolio. So it tries to give you a well-rounded approach, although we could go deep into each of those other subjects.
All right. Well, in that tax planning is something that people don't like to think about.
Yeah.
It's like, April for some people, April's wonderful. For others, it's not so good. And
Yeah.
it's almost like like a death knell as the days go on. But yeah, you do actually talk about how you can make that a smoother ride.
Yeah, and we just touch on the surface. So we're going to have another publication coming out that's purely just on tax planning.
Yeah.
But tax planning is one of those things that is changing constantly. So we're going to talk
Right.
about concepts, but there are things right now that we can do that are powerful. So taxes are one of those things that we tell our clients, it's great you have a tax problem. It means you're making a lot of money.
Right.
Let's try to get you to where you can keep more of what you make. And when we show them what truly proactive tax planning entails, they're just like, I have a CPA. Why haven't they told me any of this? And it's amazing how little tax planning most CPAs do. They're really recording what's happened. We try to have everybody have a short term, intermediate, and long term, which is often even multi generational tax plan. And by really being proactive, we can cut your lifetime tax bill extraordinary by an extraordinary amount. It can be very powerful.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be something that's going to be of interest to a lot of people. So, I being with you during kind of the writing process of this, I'm actually surprised at how well you were able to put things together and how quickly. For those of us that are, or for those in our audience that are listening and are thinking, I do something like this. I'm in wealth management or I'm in law. How did you sit down and actually get over the hump of being able to write this book?
So I don't know if we've talked about this, but I began writing this book 5 years ago. So it was a very slow process because we're very busy. And then it's changed to where I finally got really serious and I practically rewrote the entire thing. And it just started some of the advice that you guys gave us and others just kind of gave us a pattern to where we thought, okay, this is a way we can present it that it would make sense. And the
Right.
book, the way it reads now, it's actually flipped the way it started out. I mean, I started with all the different areas of a financial plan you should do, and then I went into defined outcome investing. But the focus of the book is how powerful defined outcome investing should be in your portfolio. So we flipped it, and that made all the difference. So
Mhm.
we know statistically, a lot of people never make it to the end of a book.
Right, and that's why I do coaching because many people come to me and they've pounded their head against the wall for years and years and years, and they never have been able to pull it off. Yeah.
Yeah. So we jump right into the benefits of defined outcome. What is it? How does it work? We give hope what are hopefully some powerful stories of a couple clients that didn't use it and some that did and the difference it makes. And then we go right into how to build it, what it is, and we give them everything right up front. And then we go into how it applies to all the different sections of your planning, tax planning, long-term care, all the different things you should do in your plan. So it just flows, I think, really well. So I love where we ended up. But it was a crooked road to get there. So I'm glad we got there, but it was definitely a journey.
Yeah. Well, and like you say, in my case, I usually give suggestions that you didn't follow before you got to me. But it worked. It worked in this case because again, it's a book that I feel definitely connects with the reader and talks to them in a very, very natural way. So Terry, kind of as we're running a little bit short on time,
Sure.
I want to take a second to maybe give a golden nugget to the audience. Let's give our audience for a couple minutes just something that you feel that they can take away. We maybe haven't touched on, or maybe something is a little bit of a preview of the book that might get them a little more interested in
Sure, sure.
perhaps getting into it. Yeah.
Yeah, so defined outcome investing covers all areas of your investing, whether it be stocks, fixed income, or even real estate. Real estate's probably a great example of it for those that are real estate investors. But for retirees, stocks are kind of the centerpiece. And with stocks, and just to give you a brief preview of what defined outcome investing is, most
Hmm.
people invest in a diversified portfolio. So you're on the roller coaster going up and
Yeah.
down, and hopefully the trend is up, but you go through some tough times. And we've seen periods of 13 years in the S&P where you got zero returns, but you had quite a roller coaster ride, but you kind of ended up right where you started. That's devastating when you're withdrawing from a portfolio. So defined outcome investing adds three components. So there's three legs to the stool, so to speak, to give you a very stable and safe portfolio. The first leg is naked in the market. So we still allocate there because in a raging bull market, that's going to be your winner. And then you've got two defensive strategies. So one is what we call a target strategy, where we have our core portfolio is about 80% of the upside. And then on the downside, your goal is to get a zero. So if the market is down from year to year, 50%, and you get a zero and you have money maturing, you get to buy the dip. So ironically, 80% of the upside, if you can achieve that, and protecting the downside year to year is going to be your winner over most 20-year periods. But not all. We're in a raging bull market now where naked in the market is your winner. The third element is what we call a capped and buffered strategy. It's
Mhm.
one where you get 100% of the upside, but with a cap. So let's say you're getting 15% of the market, but if the market crashes, the first 20% of losses, you don't lose anything, but then you'll lose beyond that. So if the market's down 30%, you're down 10. Again, you got money coming due every month, and we get to buy the dip. So the
Mhm.
way these three work, combined with rebalancing and managing your duration, so you have money coming due constantly, you're able to get the little dips. And you don't want to do one of these strategies. You want a mix of all three based on your unique risk tolerance that will give you the returns that you want. And in a raging bull market, the one thing that a defined outcome portfolio can do is you can afford to have a higher concentration in stocks versus a traditional portfolio that's just relying on diversification. That actually increases your total returns, and you can do that with nice protections, and
Mhm.
you can withdraw much more safely. So I know that was a big nugget, but that is the basics of the stock part of defined outcome. But then you go into fixed income and real estate also. But that's the core of what we teach people how to do and how to embrace that. And then we show you how it allows you to profit and have just a much smoother, much more enjoyable retirement that you don't have to worry about a market crash.
And it's a good nugget though because it's going to get our audience interested in reading "Laugh When the Market Crashes," which
Yeah.
will
Well,
which
and
is yeah.
yeah, I was talking to another. I was being interviewed for the book for another commentator last week, and they asked. They said in the introduction, they said Terry brings comedy to your portfolio,
Yeah.
and they hadn't read the book. In fairness, so they are just looking at the title, and I said, well, actually, the book isn't about laughing when the market crashes because, to be honest, that would be cruel. Everybody around you is losing money, and
Right.
they're very stressed out. The laugh when the market crashes is really about the quiet smile that will come to your face because you know that you were prepared for this and you're
Right.
about to make a lot of money, but you still probably feel bad because everybody around you is in pain. So we're not
Right.
saying literal laughter because nobody wants to, be happy with other people's misery. We want as many people to be saved, so to speak, before the market crash. But if you
Mhm.
do it and you're prepared, you will have a smile come to your face when the market crashes because not only are you protected from having some of that loss, so you're not eliminating all the loss, but you're eliminating a good chunk of it and you're able to buy the dip. So as people are working their way back to break even, you might be up 50, 60, 70% in your portfolio that is
Right.
allocated to stocks. So the laugh is really a quiet smile that comes to your face. That doesn't make for as good a title.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't make for a good title, and we'll stick with the title we have. But no, I mean, you make a really good point that there's a lot of pain that comes when those things occur, and I think that again, it came off to me when I was reading the book that this is something that's meant to prevent that pain. It's meant to prevent the things like my dad that never
Yeah,
never
that's
recovered, lost his business, lost his Cadillac, lost his house, all of those things that never came back. If he'd had that book, maybe it would have been different. Maybe a lot
yeah.
of it would have been different.
I wasn't
Um,
aware of your story, but that is a
yeah,
very powerful example of why you need to do these kind of
right.
strategies.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, Terry, how can our audience find out more about you?
So for the book, you can go to www.laughwhenthemarketcrashes.com. And then if they want to learn more about me, we're all over the place. But our financial firm is www.riaadvisors.com. And then the law firm has its own website. But if you Google me, you'll find me all over the place. And then we
Yeah,
have a podcast that tells your listeners more about this also.
perfect.
And that's called We Money Talk. So WE stands for Wealth Education, and it stands for Together We Can Do More. So We Money Talk is the name of the podcast, and it talks about all kinds of concepts around this and much more, even tax planning and other things.
And ladies and gentlemen, in case you're not good with your Google Foo, those links are down below. So go ahead and click on those. Terry, I loved having you. We'll circle back a little later, see how this book does for you. Maybe go a little bit into a better deep dive of, of some of the
That sounds
concepts once
great.
people have had a chance to read it.
Yeah, and thank you for having me on. It's been enjoyable talking to you.
Yep, absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Terry.
All right, thank you.